Assalamu alaikum. My name is Akram Hashmi, and I'm the Managing Director for IMANA. And it's our privilege and honor to bring Dr. AbdulHakim Mohamed today. We'll be talking about spirituality leading into Ramadan for us, especially with the time that we're in right now with everything that's going on. We thought IMANA could do something for our members and, just give some advice and see how our healthcare workers are, putting their lives in danger every single day. We thought maybe we can give them a little encouragement and some peace by, offering some spiritual advice and things like that. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. AbdulHakim. He's been with IMANA for about 6.5 years in different capacities. Very, very funny guy. Very nice, humble, very nice man. He is from Detroit, Michigan, or he's from Dallas, Texas, whichever one he feels like that day, that's where he's from. Dr. Mohamed holds a Ph.D. in Islamic Philosophy from Notre Dame. He earned his MA in Islamic Philosophy from Notre Dame as well. He earned his Bachelors in Islamic Studies from Medina University in Yemen, and has a Bachelor's from Medina University as well too. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. AbdulHakim Mohamed today.
I would like to welcome everyone that has joined us so far, and hopefully you've had a wonderful day and you've had a safe time, and probably be safe also in the future, inshallah. I also wanted to say before we start, just as a remembrance, we are in Sha'ban. The special month with the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is narrated that he was asked that we've never seen you fast such a month like you have fasted the month of Sha'ban, where he almost fasted the whole month. And he mentioned that he did so to prep himself for Ramadan. And this month is so special that the Sahaba themselves, they used to actually give their sadaqah and zakah, some of them, during the month of Ramadan, month of Sha'ban, so people can get ready for the month of Ramadan. They would have their needs for the month of Ramadan. So they would encourage people to give out their zakah and their sadaqah during the month of Sha'ban. The month of Sha'ban really is named Sha'ban because people used to be scattered during the month in wars during the Arabian time. Because Rajab is a sacred month. There's 4 sacred months in the Arab calendar, which are Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. 3 months in a row, and then 1 month on its own on the 7th month of the year. So people were forbidden to fight during the month of Rajab, and likewise they were forbidden to fight during the month of Ramadan. So they took advantage of their time during the month of Sha'ban to declare war against each other, so they can find such substance for themselves. When Islam came, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam made this month a month of offering and giving. To replace for people to go fight to make their living, he encouraged people to give sadaqah and to give their zakah. And he also increased his fasting during this month. And yesterday, I don't know if any one of you were fasting, was the 15th of Sha'ban, which many of scholars said it's a blessed day to fast. So even before we start talking about the month of Ramadan, you're still living in a month where if you're to fast, you're rewarded more so than any other month, and you're fulfilling the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it's an opportune time for us to actually fast because we're not really exhausting ourselves in doing anything. We're basically focused, or should be focused, on our own selves and our families. We have an opportunity to enhance our own faith, enhance our own spirituality, reflect on our own needs, as well as get to know our children and our family better, as we have said that in our last lecture. So it would even be a more pleasant time to fast during the month of Sha'ban, not mentioning that I've heard a lot of stories that people indulge in so much food, and most of it probably not healthy food because of the free time and sitting around on the couch. It would also be more healthier for us to fast during these days, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it also takes away from us that stress that we're going through being home, being in quarantine, because our mindset that we are prevented and denied our freedom somehow from going out. A lot of people take it in that kind of negative way, that because of the danger of going out, I am stranded here at home. In reality, really, we can look at it from a different perspective. Look at it from the perspective of we are offered a time to reflect and offered more time of me time, as they can say, to balance our lives and our thoughts and to acknowledge what's important in our lives, to go back to understanding that we have missed so much because we're so consumed with our work that just now we're remembering that we have families, we have loved ones, we got to know who our friends are that are constantly in contact with us, and we remember that we're human beings, we're weak, and something that's not even seen with the bare eye can hinder our normality of life and strip us away from things that we got used to. And that reminds us the extreme need that we have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It reminds me of the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he said, "Oh Allah, do not allow me to be dependent on myself, not a blink of an eye, for I would find myself in destruction." And subhanAllah, today, the world came together trying to solve a problem they don't even understand yet. And science, as advanced as it is still scrambling around trying to figure out how to deal with this virus. It should remind us that the only salvation we have, the only direction that we should focus on is the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanAllah, I truly understood what Ibrahim alayhi salam said when he made his dua, when he said, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. It's a statement, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. When I become ill, it is He who gives me cure. And in Arabic language, the way he used it, he said, فَهُوَ, the fa and the huwa, the pronoun here, him, with the fa before it means he is the only one that can offer that cure. He is the only one that can offer the cure. Everything else is just means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts within it the cure, but the cure really starts with him. It initiated by him. It is created by him. So what the world is going through right now gives us an opportunity to know the strength of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Junudan lam tarawha. He said he has soldiers that we do not see. We're incapable of seeing. He can use those soldiers. He can use his creations for our well-beings, or at times to bring our attention. There's no doubt this is not a punishment. This is to bring to our attention our weakness, to alert us to our needs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should take it from that. We should get closer to him during this time. Not mentioning that it's also we're offered an opportunity to rethink our priorities in life, and to also implement the sunnah of the great men before us that used their isolation, their solitude to better themselves. It's not just an isolation, it's a solitude where you're within yourself with the one that matters to you most. And we can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used it for the best of men throughout history. Musa alayhi salam, as great as he was and as strong as he was a very strong individual, physically and mentally. He was amongst the most strongest of the prophets of all time. And he had just witnessed a victory and a success. After he crossed the sea and he witnessed his enemy perishing in front of his own eyes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him to him. And he ordered him to leave his people, and he went for 30 days. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala added 10 more days to fulfill it, 40. 40 days for Musa to find growth within himself, to find ability to learn more, to ponder on what matters more. Even though he had all those 8 years with that righteous man, Shu'aib, even though he had those years that he fought with Fir'aun, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon him all those miracles, he needed those 40 days to cleanse himself, replenish all the rust that might have came upon him. to alert him that even though he saw his enemy perish, doesn't mean that life is over, that challenges are over. In fact, there's more challenges after he was saved from Fir'aun than he had prior to Fir'aun. The challenges that he faced from his people were far more troubling than he faced from Fir'aun. He had those miracles against Fir'aun, but he had to have strength and perseverance of himself to face his own people. He needed those 40 days that he spent with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were not isolation, they were solitude for him to become strong. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself, he was trained. He was being ready and for a message that would last till the end of time. How was he prepared? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him in a situation where he can handle all of that? He had him stay in the cave, night in and night out. For many nights, Khadija in the hadith, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha narrated, he used to spend many nights and does not come home. He would stay alone in the cave, look into the universe, look into his surroundings, think about how the life started, how it ends. He actually recognized Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and acknowledged him before he received Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. That tool that he used to help him identify the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, identify who he is in the universe, and the importance of where he stands in the universe, did not come after Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. It came prior to that while he was sitting in the cave alone, looking into the universe. وَفِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ لَهُ آيَةٌ تَدُلُّ عَلَىٰ أَنَّهُ وَاحِدٌ. This poem means in everything that you see in the universe, there's a sign that says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. Even if the Quran did not come down to us, we would have still had the means and tools and ability if we sat with ourselves and thought to recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists and He is one. He was prepared for years in that cave to receive Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. He was prepared to stand in front of people because of those nights to tell them, say la ilaha illallah, you will succeed. And then even through the course of his life, after all those years of struggles, where struggles make you stronger, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still gave the Rasul 10 days at the end of the month of Ramadan of every year to do i'tikaf. I'tikaf is basically isolating yourself in a corner of a masjid outside the world, where there's no mention of trade, no mention of family, no interacting with children, just staying 10 full days, as Hadith Abu Hurairah said that the Rasul when the last 10 days of Ramadan were approaching, he would tie his belt, meaning he would stay away from his family, and he would fold his sleeves, means that he's ready for the hard work. That hard work of sitting alone in the masjid and meditating and contemplating about the truth of existence and how he would handle what comes at him. And in fact, he would do that constantly every night. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, إِنَّ لَكَ فِي النَّهَارِ سَبْحًا طَوِيلًا. There's a lot of distractions and things that consume you during the day. So each night we would find the Rasul wake up when people are asleep. He wouldn't even bother to wake up his own wife and family. He would stand alone and communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was his own solitude at that time. So he had that throughout his life, and that was his me time. So we have been offered this to take advantage of this. Instead of sitting back and complaining how we have nothing to do, we have every moment a blessed moment for us to do a lot, to grow. We have been giving, rarely taken in our daily lives. When you go to work, you're basically giving more than you'll ever take. Now you're able to actually take into yourself something that will make you stronger religiously and physically and mentally. This mental capacity is drained every single day because of the extreme needs of our daily lives, to where even our families, we only sense them from the perspective of our responsibilities towards them. Now we can enjoy them. So this alone time that we're offered, this quarantine that we are finding ourselves in, I think we should take the Sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and look at it from that perspective, to where we can grow, where we can be better. The Salaf as-Salih, I read stories, subhanAllah, these days, fascinating stories about some of the men in the past. They would dedicate time for themselves to remember the grave, to remember standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, some of them used to have a lot of plants in a room. They opened their own room and put a lot of plants and water flowing in the room, and they would imagine Jannah to be like that. And they would enter for a long time, not going out to be with people, to see how it would feel to live in such illustrious life like Jannah. But the best men grew because they had this solitude time. Dawood alayhi salam left everything that he had to spend in his own temple, time where he can grow. Maryam alayhi salam, she became the greatest mother that ever existed for her son. But prior to that, she was put into the temple to serve, and she was away from everyone. She was in her own solitude until the angel Jibreel came to her, telling her that she would bear a child. If we remember the story, she was shocked and frightened and terrified because no one had access to her. The only person that had access to her was Zakaria, and he would only come in to make sure that she had nutrition and food. And even then, he would find food that should not exist in front of her, and he would leave her alone. She dedicated her time for the temple, for the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of a sudden, Jibreel comes in the shape of a man. She goes, Inni a'udhu bir-Rahmani minka in kunta taqiyya. That alone time that she was offered, it was for her to be prepared to raise a miracle that comes from the first day. For her to bear a child without a father, and for her to face a people and tell them that I have a child without a father and I have never been touched. She could not have done that if mentally she couldn't be prepared, if mentally she wasn't prepared. You cannot prepare yourself emotionally and mentally unless you sit back and focus on how to do it. What are the tools you can use? We as Muslims have been given this tool on a daily basis, which is salah. I mean, if you ask yourself, when you're in your prayers, you're told to only look at where you're going to do your sujood at. Why? Why? So you can isolate yourself from the surroundings. That's your solitude right now. Yes, it's 5-10 minutes, but it's 5 times a day. And if you add the sunnah, then it's many. And I was always amazed, and I can understand it now, where Abdullah ibn Umar said that when the Sahaba entered their prayers, birds can land over their head and will not be disturbed. And they will stand still like a rock, like a solid object. The only thing that they're thinking of is whom they're communicating with. One of the Salaf, they needed to amputate his leg, and they wanted to knock him out, and he refused because he didn't want to find a moment where he's not communicating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not conscious of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So his son said, amputate it while he's in his sujood, because he will not feel it. The greatest of all people use that free time, use that moment where there's no distraction to enhance themselves intellectually, to enhance themselves spiritually, and to enhance themselves mentally. And we have an opportunity to do that, especially since we're coming to Ramadan. And the month of Ramadan is going to be unique this year. It'll be the way it's supposed to be. Let me repeat this. This Ramadan, I think, is going to be the way that Ramadan is supposed to be. Ramadan is not supposed to be the way we have been used to have every year, which is basically family gatherings of exquisite meals and dining, basically, or prayers at the masjid where rarely people can understand what the Imam is actually reciting. Let us remember that when Ramadan was prescribed on this ummah, and it's obligated on everyone, and the night prayer was requested, a Taraweeh, the Rasul went out to the masjid the first night and led the prayer. Then he went out the second night and led the prayer. Then he went out the third night. This is hadith sahih, and led the prayer, but he didn't come out the fourth night. The Sahaba were sitting in the masjid waiting for him to come out, but he did not. They waited the fifth night. He did not show up. So they sent Abu Hurairah to ask. And the Rasul ﷺ said, if I came out, it would have been obligated. And for the rest of the life of the Rasul ﷺ, he never prayed Taraweeh in the masjid. And that's not a short period of time. Taraweeh was prescribed, Ramadan was prescribed the second year after Hijrah. That means there were 8 years left of the life of the Rasul ﷺ. He never prayed Taraweeh in the masjid. That was the way it was. That's the sunnah of the Taraweeh, because it's a night prayer where you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, where you interact with the Quran al-Kareem and make it come alive within you, where you pause with every verse that you read that reminds you of hellfire and you ask Allah ta'ala for refuge, and you pause with every ayah that reminds you of Jannah and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his blessings. And he did not come out. And it stayed like that until Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Sahaba went back to praying in their homes until the time of Umar, when he noticed that people stopped praying at home. So he called them back to the masjid so the sunnah does not die away. So the thing is, it's an opportunity for us to go back and relive the time of Taraweeh, the time of Ramadan, that the Rasul ﷺ actually had, the way he practiced it in our homes, where he would lead the salah for his own family. Aisha would pray with him, Hafsa would pray with him, Zainab would pray with him, and then his grandchildren, with his daughter Fatima, Al-Hassan, Al-Hussein, they would pray with him. We have an opportunity this Ramadan to make it unique, to where it shows us the way that Rasul ﷺ had it in his own personal life. Let's not take it from a negative perspective that I'm going to miss the masjid. Let's not try to create scenarios of praying virtually with someone that does not exist in our own home and miss the opportunity to make it into a household, religious, spiritual family. Because that's how you're going to grow. You're not going to have your family grow by turning on a screen and praying behind someone, even though it's not allowed, but thinking that you can, someone that doesn't exist in front of you. The way to do it is to show them that whether we are within the society or away from the society, our faith is never away from our hearts. Our faith is never stopped by practice because we can't have it in the group. The group that you have is your family household. And with that, we will have a better Ramadan. We would have a better outcome of Ramadan. We still can help others. We still can be part of the society by reaching out to help them financially, by connecting with them and communicating and with those who we love and miss. We can still have Ramadan flourish for the people that are in need. Our zakats and our salats. Instead of, many of us have paid to the masjid to feed for iftar, to have iftar for a full night or many nights. You can still have that iftar for people out there in the world that still need. There's a lot of people that lost their jobs these days. A lot of people that are really suffering financially because they were paycheck to paycheck individuals and families. And now they have nothing and they're hard to find anything because they can't find jobs. It is our obligation to see if we can help them so we can continue helping them. And this is truly where our faith shines. This is truly where we show that our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only grows, doesn't waver when challenges come our way. We become stronger because we should be stronger for our faith. And at that time, we'll taste the sweetness of what we do, inshallah. Barakallah fikum. If you have any questions, inshallah, I would be more than happy to answer them, inshallah. Barakallah fikum. If we don't have any questions, inshallah, then I guess we'll come to a stop. Inshallah, we'll still see you in Allah Ta'ala next week. Next week, we will talk about Ramadan itself, our daily schedule. I will try to create a daily schedule of a day of Ramadan under this quarantine that we live in. Maybe we can share that schedule with each other and see how we can enhance it together, where we can do things with our own families, with ourselves. The day is a long day. I know many people are still working from home, but for many of the others, it's a long day. So having a scheduled draft of a schedule, I think, would be beneficial. So inshallah, I will prepare a schedule for next week, and we can share it, discuss it, and see how we can also enhance our Ramadan by attending online lectures. Maybe there's Quran classes online we can participate in. But Ramadan there's no excuse for us for this Ramadan to be less than any other year in the past, inshallah, if it has to be more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakumullah khair, and see you next week.